Go live. We're live. Look at that. We're here, and we're here. There we go. That's live. All right. I kind of liked how quick the show was last week.
Yeah.
It's like 48 minutes. Perfect. Hey, Frosty. All right. Let me see. Just tweet it out. Close this. Let me close this. Outlook for iPad OS gets massive multitasking improvements. It does. The mystery port. Oh, that's for expandable storage.
It's a good 30-second conversation.
That, yeah. All right. I just want to see. All right. I am good to begin. How about you, Paul?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, Greg. All right. We'll begin in 3, 2, and 1, I think. Actually, no. Okay. Undo the. Hey, Suncast, how do I skip a pre-roll? I got something in my throat, and it's starting to bother me.
We call it when someone presents like the opposing viewpoint, like there's a State of the Union address, and then the other side does. What do you call that?
After it, the something response.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's just opposing view. I don't know. There's a term for it.
Let's see. They call it the State of Union answer. Democrats answer to the trip, but let me see here. I don't know. Suncast here? Guess not. All right. I guess we're going to do it this way. All right. Let's try this, Paul. 3, 2, and 1. What the Tech is brought to you by Future. Future is a fitness app that matches you with an elite personal trainer for one-on-one training. Sign up for Future today at future.com/Andrew and get 50% off your first month. And by Clear. Clear uses your eyes and fingerprints instead of traditional ID documents to get you through airports and stadium security faster. Get your first 2 months of Clear for free by going to clearme.com/Andrew and using the promo code Andrew. Everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by Mr. Paul Tharad. How you doing, Paul?
Andrew, where's this unfamiliar location that you're at? It looks familiar, but...
My studio. I'm in my studio today. We did a show on Friday from my office in the city. I had a crazy, crazy week. I mean, it was so hectic where we actually went to do a show on Thursday, scheduled, and Con Edison decided that it was the
Andrew
perfect
left
time
me
to
at the altar again.
I did. Once again, I left Paul at the altar. You're always the bridesmaid, never the bride, Paul. We lost power They said it was going to be like hours. It was literally like 15 minutes, but by the time that we got, I was able to message Paul. Paul had other things going on, so we just did the show on Friday, which I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun show to
Excuse
do
me.
last minute from my office. It kind of worked out
Yeah.
technologically. It's amazing how you can kind of piece together the tech to
What's
make it
going on,
work.
man? Just give me 10 minutes to fix my hair. I'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Oh, go ahead. There
What
you
is
go.
going
Paul.
on with my hair? God. All right, sorry. I'm good. Sorry.
Yeah. So
You actually waited too. Thank you.
I did. I waited for you. I gave you
You're
common courtesy. I got it. Sometimes I need some time to do it. So we did a show last week, and I kind of wanted to go into detail some of the stuff that we discussed. Obviously, more news around the Galaxy S20. This is picking up some steam as far as tech coverage goes. I thought this was going to be a nothing year for this device. Not as far as technologically, the phone, but as far as coverage goes. But this is getting a lot of coverage right now.
right.
I think people really want there to be that mythical, amazing, the one Android phone on the market that's not Google.
Yeah.
And they kind of attempt this every year with Samsung and the Galaxy line. We discussed how, the lineup, obviously, we're going to have multiple phones this year. We're going to have the Galaxy S20 5G with the S25, the S20 Plus 5G, the S20 Ultra 5G. So they're all going to be
Good luck
5G.
keeping that all straight.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're not going with the S11 name, and you stated last week on the show that the reason why they're doing this is they're going by the year now.
Yeah, which, fine.
That's fine.
It's fine.
You know
Yeah.
which one's which. It's fine. So the unveil.
I mean, they do release one every year, right? I mean, when Microsoft went to year names, I remember asking, well, does that mean there's going to be a Windows 96 and then a Windows 97? And they were like, well, no, but we'll see how that goes. And I was like, well, then this doesn't make any sense.
So the pricing is what people are very upset about, and I'm just surprised as to why, considering we're kind of used to this kind of price structure. The S20 is $850, the S20 Plus is $950, and the S20 Ultra is $1,200. It's pretty up there with iPhone pricing, no?
Yeah, I mean, well, the 5G Ultra, blah blah, whatever the one is, the 1300. I mean, yeah. I mean, iPhones. I suppose the starting price of an iPhone or whatever is not much less than that when you get up into the Pro Max version. But it's I don't know how to feel about this. Like, Samsung is neck and neck with Apple in the United States, I think, for sales. I think that was how it worked, or maybe they were neck and neck in the worldwide in the fourth quarter or whatever it was. But overall, biggest smartphone maker in the world. Unlike Apple, they don't have 3 or 4 models. They have 15 or 50 models or whatever it is. It's crazy. So we don't really get a lot of insight into which Samsung phones sell the best, or make the most money even, or however you want to measure that. I suspect it actually is not the flagships. I suspect they sell a lot of those low end, J series, A series, whatever phones. And that's fine. Different companies have different ways to go to market. And Samsung, they know the sales data. They know how things are going. It's weird. I just feel like the market's going in a different direction, and
What do you
they're
think that direction
expanding the
is?
high end. And, it seems a little strange to me. I mean,
Where do you think
I'm
the market's
interested
going? Because last week we spoke about where do you think the market's going? Because last week we were talking about the foldable devices. I think they're kind of hokey, they're gimmicky, they're this year's notch, in a way. But I think the difference is for mid-range phones. I think this is going to be a big seller.
Yeah.
Going forward, once the pricing, when you hit that mid-range pricing, which
Yeah.
will eventually
okay.
happen.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I don't know. So, yeah, I was just, I had just written something about Google's phones. And if you look at if you listen to or read the transcript of their post earnings conference call, they don't come out and say it, but they really were kind of saying between the lines, like, look, the Pixel 4 is not selling very well. Pixel 3 did not sell very well. The Pixel 3a actually sold pretty well, and that was the cheap one. That's relative to their other phones. Pixel is like the surface of the phone world. It's the platform maker makes it, and nobody buys these things.
But why is it? I find that interesting because in the phone world, however, it's a little bit different because the flagships are what drives the market in the sense of innovation, right, and notoriety. For
Yeah,
Apple,
and right.
obviously, it's the iPhone, and the
Yep.
iPhone 11 Pro would be their flagship, and people still buy this phone even though it's very expensive. For
Well,
Google,
but Apple
however,
does something. I think what Apple does is very smart in the phone market because they they have this kind of, well, they have two, but they have these high-end phones with the triple cameras, and they're made out of this special unicorn aluminum or whatever it is, and they're really cool. And people go into the store and they're like, "Oh, that's like $1,250." They're like, "Yeah, but we have this other thing over here. It's $800 and it's basically the same thing." And that's what they sell the most of, and that's really, really smart. I don't know how it works at Samsung because Samsung, like I said, they have, what do they have, 50 model? I mean, they have, it's hard to say. So we don't really know. I suspect what they're doing is selling a medium number of a lot of different phones. I bet they don't have one phone that outsells everything else like
yeah.
Apple kind of does. So it's just a different way to go to market. It's a little harder to understand how it works, but um, yeah, and the reason I mentioned Google was that there are obviously some problems when you hit the middle of the low end of the market with performance and maybe reliability and whatever it is. And on the Google side, like, they delivered a phone that I think came in an awesome, like, polycarbonate body that I thought was really cool. Great camera system. That's obviously key these days.
Remarkable,
You know,
probably the best
yeah. Well, at the time. I mean, now,
at the
now with the
time.
new generation of phones, it's kind of hard to say, but Apple, Samsung, well, not Samsung, but Apple and Huawei and Google all have excellent camera systems, pluses and minuses, whatever they are. So I look, I'm really curious. I don't know if Samsung's new flagships act as a sort of a halo product to get people into stores, and then maybe they go, like, are there people really getting excited about an S20 and then they go to the Verizon store and they buy like a J series phone for $99? I
No,
mean,
doesn't work like
probably
that.
not, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe the opposite, right? You walk in there for a
yeah,
J
yeah.
series
Hopefully
phone, you get
that's
upsold
the
to an
yeah.
S20.
Well, by the way, that's the other way that phones are kind of different from other products. Not that you can't finance other products, but because a phone purchase is always tied to a subscription that you're paying every month anyway, right? So if you walked in and you were like, "Look, I'm going to pay for this thing outright," they'd be like, "Great, you're still going to spend 30 or 50 or $60 a month or whatever it is on the carrier." So for a lot of people, it's like, "Well, I'm paying that anyway. So let's make it 35 or 45 or $70, and then I don't have to pay the 500 or $1,000 whatever the phone costs."
Yeah.
So that makes it a little bit of a different market, right? Than, say, like a computer market. You buy a computer, you buy the computer. Typically you're not paying a subscription on top of the computer. Um, so I don't know. I'm still confused by how expensive things are. Google has no business selling phones that cost $1,000. Samsung as the market leader, I mean, I guess you could make the argument. That's good. Um, is this going to be their bestseller in 2019? I don't know.
But you
I
know
don't
what's
know.
interesting? So just walking, I live in New York. So our the gauge is a little bit skewed here, right? With how
Yeah,
people
yeah,
use
yeah.
devices and everything. I'm in a major city. Same thing with San Francisco or Chicago or any major city. Boston, it's going to be skewed. Uh, I don't see too many Android phones in the wild. But when I do,
Yeah,
it's a mid-range device.
interesting.
And
So
by the way,
again,
I'm not talking about the guy that has the Note 10 that I work with. I'm not talking about, the one person that's an Android fan. I'm talking about, they're either a couple years old or they're mid-range devices that are out in the wild that I see that are Android. And most of the time, these are just people that are buying a smartphone. They're not going to purchase, the S20 for the camera. So
yeah,
the overall, you're absolutely right. The mid-range Android devices are saturating the market. That is who uses a phone. But
right,
when
right,
I
right.
do see someone with a flagship phone, I would honestly 8 times out of 10, it's an iPhone. I mean, that's just
I
the
I see a lot of
market.
iPhone. We live in the United States. I mean, the iPhone is the best selling phone in the United States. I was at a bar on, doesn't matter what night, Friday. Let's say it was Friday night, whatever. And it's interesting. I just happened to notice the woman next to me had what was clearly a Note 10, which they distinctive Samsung icons, the middle, the camera hole in the middle, and yada yada. It was right next to me. I could just see it. And then I was talking to my wife, who was on my other side. We were on the corner, and the guy who was sitting next to her also had a Samsung Note 10. And I was like, how?
Interesting.
I actually pointed it out to her. I was
Were they
like,
together?
no, they were on. There were two different couples. It was just
Maybe
on
they should
opposite
date.
sides of us. Well, it's just a weird thing. I pointed it out to my wife, who couldn't care less,
Yeah.
But I was like, this is the kind of thing I notice. You're right. I mean, typically, if I were to look around the room, like you probably do when you sit at a bar or whatever, go out in the world,
Always.
you look at what people are doing and what phones they have and everything. And yeah, in the United States, you see a lot of iPhones. But we have like a microclimate for phones here. I mean, it's different in Europe, it's different in Asia, it's different in other places.
Yeah, you go like in Europe. When I was in Europe, it was fascinating to see how they use technology. I was
Yeah,
blown away
sure.
in actually I actually applaud when I was in Ireland. I was in Dublin. I went to Belfast. I went to Northern
Right.
Ireland and Belfast, but I was staying in a small town on the border called Monaghan. And I was visiting a friend over there. And I was just observing how people use technology in different
Mhm.
countries. I had to tell you, and I spoke about this on the show, you know, something you didn't see that much, okay? Something that was not a common thing. Something you go to a New York City bar, right?
Right.
Anytime, doesn't matter if it's midday, you go to everybody has their phone in their hand and they're talking to you like this
I know.
the whole time.
Yeah.
When I was in Ireland, and these were all young guys, right? It was like a
Yep.
Friday. It was a Friday night or Saturday night. I was at a busy bar, the local bar. Like everybody was there. Nobody had their phones out. And when they did,
Good.
it was
Good for
because they saw either it was to let somebody know where they are or to let
Yeah.
somebody know that they're coming home. That was it. And the phones were in the pocket. That was it.
But
I was blown away by it.
they also probably stopped on the way to the bar at like a tobacco and topped up their mobiles.
Yeah.
There are these weird cultural, kind of differences that are, that make travel fun, I guess. But yeah, I see that out in the world all the time in the United States, and it's saddens me. I point, in fact, in that same bar, maybe that same night, we go to the same place every weekend, but I will often point at couples sitting around the bar, and they're both just sitting there next to each other, looking at their own phones, and it's like, oh, geez, what is happening? Like, what, seriously, like. There was one couple last weekend, actually, same place. They were at the far end of the bar, and I pointed them out to my wife, and I was like, "I don't think are those two together?" And we literally kind of watched them the entire night. They never interacted once. They got some food, they had some drinks. The bill came,
And
the
they
woman
left.
paid, and then they looked at each other for the first time, and then they left together. And I was like, "What the hell was that?"
Okay, there's two
I mean,
very strange scenarios. One, the couple that doesn't talk, right? They're out, they
yes,
don't talk. They just
right.
sit there and they eat silent. The other one,
Yeah. Do you
the
want to go
couples,
not talk to each other, but somewhere that's not our house? Yeah, why not?
do you and Steph sit next to each other if it's only you two
In a restaurant.
in a restaurant? Do you guys
No,
sit
if we're
next
at
to
a
each other
table,
or
we will
across from
sit
each
across
other?
from each other.
Okay,
Yeah. If
okay,
we're obviously
you're
at a
normal
bar, we always try to get like a corner seat.
in at a
'Cause
bar.
if you think about it, like if you're sitting next to each other, you're next to each other. It's whatever. But when you're in a corner, you can kind of it
Talk.
gives
It's
you
at an
that
angle.
you're still at a bar, but you can also face that
Yeah.
person.
The only time Jess and I sit next to each other, we're sitting at a bar. I
Yeah.
I sat down. We went to one of our places. I know this has become we've gone off topic, and I promise I'm going to get back. But
Sorry.
it's just human nature, right? How people
Yeah.
interact with each other fast. They're sitting at a table.
Mhm.
It's a bench and then two other seats. So it's actually like four people could sit, but one is a bench seat on the other side. They're
Yeah.
sitting at the bench seat next to each other.
Yeah, no, I don't like when I see
And
people
I'm
doing
like,
that.
ugh. It made me. I was telling Jess, I'm like, I want to get up there.
I view
I
that
want to go
as
and tell them that this is weird.
Yeah, you know what? It's immature, is what it is. It tells me that these people have an immature relationship, meaning they're not particularly sophisticated about where they are in life,
Thank you.
and they might even be worried that other people will see the person they're with and be interested in them, and so they're overly emphasizing how together they are.
Paul, you
And,
a-hole New England elitist. Judging
um,
people.
judging people. Listen, there's only two reasons to go to a bar, Andrew.
Yeah.
One of those reasons is to judge people.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
So I don't know what you're getting at, but I just
Oh, I agree with
established
you.
I was at a bar.
I agree with you. Um, no, but
I
I mean,
mean,
you do. To
do
kind
the
of get
math.
back to this, you are
Yeah.
right. The Pixel has failed for Google. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, God, it's really fascinating to me the parallels between Microsoft and Google in that they both made these platforms, Windows and Android. At one time, they partnered to make other devices that made by other, by actual makers better. In Microsoft's case, with the Signature PC, remember, and in Google's case with Nexus. And then they felt like that wasn't quite working out, and they both decided to get into the business of making their own hardware. So now they're designing it in house, and I realize they don't actually physically make the thing, but they're for all intents and purposes, from A to Z, they're making it. They're responsible for the creation of that thing. And now what that means is they're competing with their partners because obviously they partner with other companies to make their own phones, and neither one of them is doing very well. You know, they both had like serious reliability issues over time. They both don't have market leading features like all the time. Like it's weird. They both have designs that I happen to like, and I think they both have like these groups of enthusiasts who really like the products, but they never seem to do very well out in the market. Like they're basically boutique hardware makers. They're never in the top 5 or 10 or whatever it is of hardware makers for their respective platforms. They never rate, like they're just never there.
yeah.
And I can't explain it. I literally I can't explain, like, as an enthusiast, I naturally like these kinds of things. I like, if I'm going to use Android, or if you're going to use Android, I recommend trying to get that pure Android thing, not some tortured change thing from some other company. And same thing on Windows. Like you want the pure, experience. But I still can't recommend them. It's such a weird position to be in. Both of those things, Pixel phones and Surface PC, should be no-brainers. They should be no-brainers. I should be able to, without any caveat or worry, recommend them to anybody. And it's weird that I can't.
Well, here's the
It's
thing, right?
just a strange position to be in.
And look at what Microsoft is. I'm going to lose my voice by the end of the show. I'm so sorry, guys. I
Yeah,
don't know what's
you're
happening.
so excited.
I'm starting to feel it. I don't know what happened.
You got the
But
coronavirus.
I got that. Oh, God, it's quite possible at this point. I'm not. My wife had swine flu a couple of years ago
Oh
when
God.
that was a thing.
Right.
So when looking at this, you got to say, well, look at what Microsoft is doing right now with the phones. Right? They're not
Yeah.
releasing a normal phone. They're releasing a very
Right.
niche, unique concept
Mhm.
that's that I don't know. It doesn't matter if it does great or if it fails. It's still, the concept was that they put out a very unique idea, and they're taking a risk with this thing. They could have played it
Right.
safe by release the let's call it the Surface phone running Android that looks like it's not running Android. We've all, and I still think this is the direction they're going to go in, and they're going to have that phone. It's going to happen, but
Yeah.
they've taken a whole different leap into uh, essentially a skinned Android phone, right?
Right. Right. I mean, look, I mean, I had heard that they were making a phone about a year ago, and I didn't hear it was dual screen and folding and all that stuff, but the justification I got from, and this different sources kind of feeding different parts of the story to me was basically like, look, because we don't have this giant infrastructure to worry about like we did when we owned Nokia, factories, workers with their pensions and salaries and all that stuff. They're basically just outsourcing this, and it's kind of a low risk thing. And it can, and as someone from Microsoft had kind of asked me rhetorically, like, what if Microsoft could have a small phone business that was profitable? Like, what's the big deal? Like, we're not going to be the top 5. It doesn't matter, but we have this profitable business. It makes sense for us to do this because we have enterprise customers who want to have certain things and blah, 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 whatever it is. And yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's absolutely fine. But we were just talking about like Google, for example, in the phone market. Like, I don't feel I don't feel like what they've done has been profitable at
Yeah.
all. They spent a lot of money to basically buy all of HTC or whatever, the part of HTC that matters, to kind of build up this phone business. They've obviously spent a lot on R&D and designs and blah 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 and all this stuff, and I feel like it just hasn't panned out. You
Yeah.
know?
I don't know. I think the story of Android is going to be the saturation more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's good. That's a
Right.
real. You're going to have the top end. The Android
Yep.
market looks more like the PC market than the iPhone does. If you really think about it,
Yeah. No. And by the
tons
way,
of
that makes sense.
OEMs
I
all
mean,
look different, all feel different.
yep.
Some are a better experience than others. They're all lacking something.
Yeah. Apple doesn't make a piece of shit iPhone, just like they don't make a piece of shit Mac.
Yeah.
And if you look at the volume sales in the Android phone market and in the PC market, I'm sure by unit they are pieces of shit. I'm sure that's true.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that there aren't awesome designs, premium devices, really desirable hardware on both sides, and that some of those do pretty well, and that a lot of the profits when they're available come from those types of machines. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because Android competes with iPhone obviously, and the Mac competes with Windows sort of. Um, in some ways, they're completely different, regardless, from each other.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah,
Very interesting. Before
it's
we
curious.
continue, I want to remind everybody, if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy Paul and I doing this, you could join our Patreon, fund us $1 a show, $2 a show, $5 a show, whatever you want to fund us. I call it our. We were talking about the bar. That's our beer money. We
Fair enough.
that's we go
It's
out,
our
we have a couple drinks.
judging money,
Our judging money. We sit at the bar and judge people with this. If you go to
right?
patreon.com/whatthetech, you get access to our bonus shows that we record after each What the Tech that we do. We've been way more committed as to recording these bonus shows as far as doing it weekly. And you guys are signed up, which I absolutely love. Also for Thurrott Premium, go to Thurrott.com, sign up for Thurrott Premium. One of the topics that we were talking about, and that's the Pixel 4. And if the Google Pixel failed, that's a Thurrott Premium article. And they have, the articles, they're thought engaging. It's not a short little thing that you do. You do these Thurrott Premium articles, and they're very, sometimes I go on the site and I see it, and I'm like, wow, you know what? That one's a really good one. And I go to message you, and I totally forget to message you and tell you that I really enjoyed it. So
Yeah, no, I'm sure. It's the thought that counts, Andrew. It's
it's a
fine.
thought that counts. So you go to Thurrott.com, sign up for Thurrott Premium there. Um, so I want to kind of stick to a topic that I discussed with you a while ago. We were talking about, do
Mhm,
you remember we were talking about email and what
mhm.
clients people are using?
Yeah,
And you told me not to use Outlook.
Outlook, like 2019 or whatever, like
Yeah, like
the
whatever,
full
20,
Outlook.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
full
yeah.
Outlook. You told me not to use it. So on my
Well,
Mac, I've been using Apple Mail.
oh, I mean, by the way, right. You're on a Mac. I mean, Outlook on a Mac is completely different.
Okay.
So actually, you could look at that. I meant the one on Windows. The one on
Okay.
Windows
So
is a nightmare.
on the Mac, and
Mhm.
I've been using it more and more, and I'm very close to making it my main email client at this point.
Which one is
Apple Mail.
Outlook? Oh, Apple Mail.
Outlook.
Okay.
Outlook. No, to
Oh,
leave to leave
okay.
Apple
Yep.
Mail and go to Outlook.
Yep.
Um, for whatever reason, this is something that's not really being discussed on the latest version of Mac OS. The
Mhm.
Mail client has really taken a back seat. Like it's not good. It's very buggy. It has a
Right.
UI issue where on the side you can see your mailboxes. It disappears. It just goes gray. So you have to
Okay.
shut down the application and start again. Also, for when you load it up, it takes, and I've done this on 3 different devices, so I know it's not my device. It peaks the CPU usage for like a good minute. It's
Right.
kind of, and I know I'm gonna get emails saying, "Well, mine doesn't do this." It's fine. Yours doesn't have to do it. But I have a much larger email box than most people. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have like 20 email accounts that I never had issues with before, and now I
Uh-huh.
have tremendous problems with this client.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they did something, and it's not a good something. So I'm looking to kind of jump ship and go to
I
Outlook
see.
exclusively. Uh, Dude, it's great on the Mac. It's really good on the
I
Mac.
don't use a Mac, so I can't speak. I just know it's different. So it's a completely different code base. It's a much newer app. It doesn't have all the legacy nonsense built into it like Outlook does on Windows. So I'm sure it's much better.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna jump ship and commit to it full time.
I use
Have you
Outlook on mobile for whatever that's worth. I think Outlook Mobile's fantastic.
more than on your iPhone too?
Yeah. Yep.
You do, and you use it over Apple Mail.
Hmm.
Any reason why?
I just prefer the way it works. I mean, it's just what so back in the day, like I used to really, really like Inbox, the Google Inbox app. And then I would use Google Calendar, like on mobile. And it was just a friendly front end to Gmail. It could aggregate accounts and all that kind of stuff. And so the thing about Outlook I like is it has the same simple interface. It's you can configure how the swipes work. Like I do right swipe to archive, left swipe to delete. So it's really good for triaging email. It has calendar built in, so the two main views are email and calendar. So it's like one app, one icon. It just works great. It just works the way I want. It's what I want. It's just really nice. I don't as a Windows user, I don't have a version of that
Yeah.
on Windows, and that kind of bugs me. So unfortunately, on Windows, I'm stuck with using the Gmail web interface now. Although I use a browser plugin or extension or whatever to make it simpler and more like Inbox used to be. Because even default Gmail is kind of big and heavy, but yeah, I mean that was something. That's something I've struggled with the email thing a lot, and over the past year with Inbox going away and trying to figure that out, I
See,
basically,
I never got behind Inbox. It didn't do it
yeah,
for
I
me.
loved Inbox. I'd give anything to have that back. But the way it is now is pretty close. So, I mean, I just, I sort of realized, like, I don't know. You just said something about having. What did you say? How many accounts? You have a
I'll
lot
tell
of
you right now.
accounts.
I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
One. Hold on. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
I mean,
11,
dude, that's
12, 13,
crazy.
14, 15, 16, 17 email
So
accounts.
I don't. I only have. I have two main accounts, and really only one of them is like the daily use thing. So my Threat.com account, which is the Gmail thing, is the thing I need to be on top of every day, all day. So that's the thing I use on the computer. I the big break for me was like over the past year, I was like, you know what? I don't really have to access those other accounts on the computer. It doesn't matter. Like if I get email to my old Hotmail account, which is Outlook.com now, or my secondary Gmail accounts, don't need to see those the second they come in. They're never important. And so I just those go aggregate through Outlook Mobile on on the phone, whatever phone I'm using. And when I'm on the phone, I can check and
Yeah.
I swipe, 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 and they're gone, and they're never important. I don't have to worry about it. So that kind of works for me. But
Do you do
obviously
you keep
everyone
your
has different.
inbox clean?
I try to. So the reality is I never catch up. And what I'll do is at the beginning of every month, and then I don't always do this exactly right, but somewhere in the middle of the month, I'll go back and I just archive email that's more than 2 weeks old because I'm just never going to get to it. So if I didn't reply, it rather than have the weight of those things, you know, there bothering me because I'm not going to reply. Like if I haven't replied in 2 weeks, it's not happening.
Yeah,
So I
so
just do that.
I'm really meticulous with my inbox. I have two emails right now that I need to respond to.
Hmm.
Actually, I just found something in my spam folder that should not be in there. And it's a
Yeah,
very
well,
important
that's the other
email,
issue.
like a
Yep.
very important email that should
Yep.
not be in there. That's more of a problem that I've noticed recently. That I'm getting a lot of false positives
Yep.
into my spam folder. So I gotta do better job at kind of looking at that. But
You shouldn't have to. That's the problem is this is like I was just tweeting this like this is the second day in a row I've gotten a fake email from Apple support telling that my account's
oh,
been frozen.
constantly.
You know, I don't understand how that gets through. Even I could write an email app that could figure out that the sender and the thing it's supposedly coming from are not the same, thus it is spam. Like to me this is the easiest problem to solve in the world, and yet this happens all the time. And I that is very upsetting. And
Yeah,
then the problem you just described is in some ways more upsetting because you don't know that's there
I have
unless you look, and you
5,400.
should never have to look at that. You should never have to look.
I have 5,800 emails in my junk folder right now, and I went through this a month ago.
Okay.
Like and it's
I'm gonna
always
look at
like,
mine now. Now you're making me
congratulations.
curious.
Here's one thing: create mouth-watering interactive video that explodes traffic.
Mouth watering.
That's one email that I just got. It's a lot of Russian. I got a lot of Russian in my inbox, and then like every
Oh
now and
boy.
then, it's like a CVS confirmation order. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
I get, I'm looking at I have an email from Mary Jo Foley in my spam folder. This message seems dangerous. It says
No.
that's really funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
Um,
I don't know. I find that interesting, but I'm gonna try. I'm going to Outlook 100%. Also, Outlook on iPad OS got a big update, right? For
yes, and this is
multitasking.
some. Sorry, I'm not, I'm so
No, go
focused
ahead.
on the spam now I'm freaking out. So yeah, and there you go. There's Outlook. We're just talking about Outlook Mobile. I don't. Do I use it? I don't really use it on the iPad, but that's just because I've kind of made the decision to use the
Not really.
iPad for reading and watching
Yeah.
videos for the most part, right? I mean, but that's just kind of my goofy weirdness. But yeah, I mean, I listen. You if you haven't looked at um, Outlook on your phone or whatever, I mean, or on yeah, if you use an iPad, you should look at that again because it's just such a great app.
Yeah. I'm gonna try it. So I
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you about the Super Bowl. This is
Hmm.
something I was very excited to talk to you about. How did you view the
Okay.
Super Bowl this year?
So it's funny you ask because um, it was it was like 6 o'clock, and I said to Stephanie, my wife, I was like, we should probably figure out how we're going to watch the Super Bowl because we don't have TV, you know.
Okay.
So the first thing I did was we're using a Fire TV stick now for for TV or whatever for
So
the
that's
services.
become your thing, right? No more Roku. It's
Yeah.
the Fire TV
Yep.
stick. Awesome.
Yep.
I got to show you some cool stuff with that thing, with that device.
Okay. So I figured they have that top carousel. One of those things is going to be about the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and it was. And actually there were 4 or 5 options. You could get like the I think it was like the Fox Sports app or something, or the
Fox Sports,
one of them.
Fox Now.
Yeah, whatever they were, and
Yeah.
NFL. I chose the NFL version,
Yeah.
so I
Which,
was
by
like,
the
"Look,
way, they were all Fox.
okay, well, yeah. I mean, it's probably I assumed it was just the feed from the Super Bowl, right?"
So did you watch the
So,
4K feed?
well, I ended up not watching. I did something different.
Okay.
What I was going to say was I went to I installed the NFL app. I ran it. It came up. It was clearly some kind of a pregame thing. It was like what's his face? I just forgot his first name. Peyton Manning talking to somebody, and I'm like, all right, this looks like this looks like it's right. But then it did what was clearly like a house ad kind of a thing. Like instead of seeing the ad that was coming out to the TV audience, it was like an app ad.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, no, no, no. No, I don't want that. So I was like, oh, screw it. I just used a secondary Google account to start up YouTube TV
Okay, and get the
for
free.
free.
Yeah.
And I used that, and then I canceled the account after the game.
Okay,
And I
so I'm
feel
surprised.
my conscience is clear on this because again, I could have watched it for free in a variety of ways. But that's how we watched it. So we just used YouTube. I just wanted to make sure we saw the commercials, which, in retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have worried so much because most of them were pretty terrible. But
So I
uh,
watched on the Fox Sports app
mhm.
because it was 4K.
Okay,
So it wasn't really 4K. It was upscale 1080p 4K, but
okay.
on the Fire TV, it was HDR10.
Oh, nice.
So you had upscale 1080p HDR10
Hmm.
upscale to 4K.
Yeah,
Dude, it looked remarkable.
did it?
I
Did it
mean,
make the game better? Because that
it
was a terrible game
okay. It really.
until the end.
I'm gonna tell you. With movies, I understand when people don't see the difference, right? Like between 4K and 1080p. I get how they
Um,
don't, depending on the proximity from the screen, how far away you are, how your color balance is set up. Is it an HDR? Is it
oh
not an
boy, though.
HDR?
Well, you know what though? I just watched some 1080 on my TV, which is a 4K TV. And you get this. I don't know what you probably know the right term for this. Imagine it's like a dark scene in a movie,
Hmm.
and there's a big area that's mostly black, and maybe it turns into
And then
trees, and there's some
you see
backlight,
the kind of
and
the
you see that kind of,
yeah.
it's pixel. You know what I mean. I think you see that a lot more at lower resolution streaming,
Yeah,
whereas in
absolutely.
4K it would kind of clean that up.
Yeah, because you also have to remember the 4K feed is at a higher, technically it's a higher bit rate, even though it's not because of the encoding it's
Yeah,
doing. So if it's
yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah.
H.265,
Hmm.
and they're talking about encoding. This just told me I just went below my threshold for bitrate for the show. Google's yelling at me. So
Right.
either way, but I put this thing on my TV in the bedroom. So I actually have multiple settings for color and everything on my TV. I'm really meticulous with this. So I have a sports setting that I watch sports with this kind of color balance. Like I like it a little bit colder with the color balance when I watch a sports compared to watching film, or movie. I like it a little bit warmer. So I put it on the like the normal setting, and it looked remarkable. And then I tweaked the color balance and everything. My God, Paul, it was so noticeable. Where, and this is my bedroom, so I'm not like having people over. But my wife came
Right.
in the room. She goes, "Wow, that's clear." For the
Nice.
first time ever, she goes,
Yeah.
"Wow, did you like why? Why does it look so different?"
Right.
Because we were watching downstairs on the 1080p stream
Oh,
downstairs.
okay.
I go, well, it's upscale 4K. She goes, Andrew, I always tell you, like, I don't notice it. My God, this is
Right.
noticeable. It
Yeah,
just
that's nice.
looked so good. And by the way, I
Right.
know it's not 4K. It was 1080p upscaled. But my God,
Whatever. It looked
whatever they
great. That's
did,
good.
it looked so good. And I go, you know what? This is exciting because I got in, and my wife got into the game
Yeah.
because of how good it looked. Like it was daunting to her how clear it was.
Right.
And I got to tell you, Fox did a great job. They had a couple of hiccups, and I know Brad was watching the 4K stream also because we were
Okay.
talking because it had a hiccup at one point. But my God, if they don't do this for the entirety of next season, they it's this is going to be a big push for Fox. I know with their content because I have a friend at WWE and they told me that they're experimenting with 4K for the Fox app. If you're watching
Okay.
WWE on the Fox app, you're going to get 4K streaming or 1080p upscaled, right? Um, this is really for sports. This is an advantage to have when you talk about streaming over cable. Because you got to remember the over the air feed is 720p for Fox.
Right. Right.
So going from watching 720p Super Bowl in 720p, and then going and watching it in upscale 4K, my
Yeah.
God, it is night and day.
Nice.
I really was impressed by what they did. Somebody also sent me the chart for the cameras, like how many cameras they have, like 69 cameras they're using for the Super Bowl.
Sure.
It's unbelievable how they do this. But I actually wanted to. I'm surprised you didn't watch it in 4K. I think you would have been very
I
impressed.
listen. I've been saying for years, like it's kind of a weird thing. Is like as a Patriots fan, the Super Bowl has been kind of tough because it's so stressful to watch. And I like football. I just want to kind of enjoy football, and it's like I kind of wish the Patriots would not be in it so I could just like enjoy the game.
Yeah,
And
and he
then,
didn't, and he didn't enjoy it.
well, I found myself not caring much about it. Like, my wife had asked at one point, like, who do you want to win or whatever? I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, I watched. You know what? I watched it. The commercials were in 4K also, which I found interesting that that was part of it. The halftime show was great. I enjoyed watching the Super Bowl this year because um, I didn't have. I like the Niners, so it didn't matter. But I
Right.
don't love. I'm not a huge
I
Niners
thought both
fan.
those teams were terrible.
You did you? I
Like,
thought it was a decent
oh, they were
game.
terrible.
I did
Both of
not
them were
hit on any
terrible.
boxes. I lost so much money this year.
The end of the game
This
was it's obviously Kansas City kind of turned it around in the second half of the last quarter, whatever that was. That was great. The Super Bowl. I want to be clear. This had nothing to do with the Patriots not being there. The Patriots are terrible in the Super Bowl. Almost always. With the one exception being that kind of come from behind thing in Atlanta, but with
even when they
Atlanta,
win.
but yeah, no, they're terrible. It's terrible. No, the Super Bowl is usually a terrible game, and there's a real the problem with football is it's one game playoffs, one game championship, right? So anything could happen, and the best team doesn't always win. Best team probably usually doesn't win. I mean, on paper, both the 49ers and the Chiefs were fantastic teams. And then you watch them play and you're like, my God. I had said to my wife, actually, as the game started, I said, um, San Francisco quarterback, who I will always refer to as Janine Garofalo, I was like, that is the guy who should be the Patriots quarterback.
Yeah.
And then the games unfolded, and I was like, thank God that guy is not the Patriots quarterback. He was terrible. I mean,
So
he was terrible.
I'm trying to find
It,
out. I'm trying to find out what at what point they fall apart for the Patriots. Because what year was the last? How many years did they do over the last 10 years in the Super Bowl?
I don't know, 10 years. I mean, they've been in the Super Bowl every 3 years and have won every 4 years or something
Yeah,
like that over 20 years or whatever it
it's
is.
something.
But
It's something crazy.
I think they were in the past 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
I think something like
yeah.
that. I
Well,
don't know.
viewership has been eroding since 2015 when it hit
Since
114
2015.
million viewers. This one
Yeah.
did. Nielsen said that the viewership rebounded slightly from 98.5 million in 2019 to 99.9 million. So 100 million people watched the Super Bowl with its
Mhm.
peak viewership at 103 million during the halftime show. I'm trying to find statistics as to how many people watched streaming.
Yeah. I mean, those numbers are only going to explode over time. I mean, I'm sure they're probably still fairly small. I mean, compared to, cable TV
Well,
viewership or
last year
whatever,
was
but I
2.6
bet they're
million.
how many?
2.6 million
Oh,
last
that's
year.
even
Last
that's
year.
even lower than I thought.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah,
Here we go. Fox is claiming 3.4 million people watched it streaming.
3.4. Okay.
Yeah. It's not a lot.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Not a lot. Interesting though. Very interesting. I'm surprised you didn't see it in 4K, but I just want to tell people it was
I
very impressive.
I honestly, I got to tell you, this game, I literally, I, I took a shower at one point in this game where I was like, I gotta go take a shower. I completely ambivalence, Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I feel weird about stuff like this. Like, I don't watch as much basketball as I used to. I feel weird about that. I don't watch as much football as I used to, and I kind of feel weird about that. Baseball has been the one that has really stuck for us for some reason,
That's
and
your thing.
yeah, and it's weird because growing up, I was much more of a basketball fan, especially, and then I would say a football fan second, and it's kind of reversed, over time, and I can't explain why. I don't know. Don't you feel like the NFL is not going to be around in 10 years? I mean, don't you feel like it's living on borrowed time as it
Well,
is?
the XFL is debuting back. It starts up
Yes.
again this
Okay.
weekend.
I don't see where the XFL solves the problem. Frankly, in fact, it might exacerbate the problem. But
The XFL is starting. I think that's wild that they made a comeback. I am going to go to a couple XFL games this year.
that's incredible.
I'm the New York Guardians.
Sure.
They got a $45 million a year TV deal, so they're going to make some money. They're not going to fall apart like that the AAF, but I do find it interesting that that the XFL is back. It's crazy.
I don't know what to say to that. What you just reminded me of was I saw you've heard of Bachman Turner Overdrive?
Yeah.
This is a band from the 70s. So at some point in the mid to late 80s, they opened for Van Halen, and the guy from the band said, BTO is back. And I'm like, I don't think they are. I don't think they are.
What was their
And
big
I
song?
sort of
It
feel
was
like that
what?
way about the XFL.
Taking Care of Business, right? That was their big song.
That's right. There's a
Yeah.
good Simpsons joke about BTO where they play that song, and then Homer's like, play Taking Care of Business. And he's like, we just played that song. He's like, play it. And then they just play it again. Because really, they only have 2 songs or 3 songs or whatever it is. But
all right, Paul. One more thing here.
yes.
I had a question for you. I'm trying to find it now.
Mm-hmm.
Do I not have it? Oh, what do you think of Google's? Did you see that Google printing service that they announced?
Yeah.
What is that exactly?
This is something they're considering or experimenting with, and it's basically, I think, what do you pay, like $8 a month or something? And they pick some number of photos from your photos taken that month, and they print them and send them to you. This is like Google Play Music is going to look at the music you listen to, and then they're going to make a playlist out of your favorite songs, and they're going to send it to you on an album. It's like, what? It just seems kind of strange. I will say, look, as an older gentleman, I mean, I I appreciate um the desire, especially among younger people, for the old days, when things were simpler, like books came on paper, photos came on paper, music came in some kind of a physical contraption that you needed a special device to play or whatever. Um, like I appreciate that, but I don't think look, I don't know. I, printing photos and hanging them on the wall, I mean, or whatever. I don't do people do this?
I
I
guess
mean, a
so.
lot. I mean, you might have a couple of family photos or
I do.
something,
Like
but
in my office, I got a bunch of photos of the kids and everything.
yeah, I know. But do you have enough of them that you're like, I need to spend $1,000 on a high quality printer so I can get this done or whatever? Like, I mean,
No, I don't have
no,
enough.
right? I mean,
I don't have
I don't
enough of
know.
that.
It just
Yeah.
seems like I think like the ship has sailed. Like even
Yeah.
in the early days of like the digital media stuff, like when Apple was kind of coming up, like people used to make like photo books. Remember, like that was one of the big things you could do with like iPhoto. And then there were services like online, obviously Snapfish and so forth. And I make a photo book for my mother every year, I because she doesn't live here and she wants to see the kids and everything. And she's old and she's not going to, even though she has probably a 70-inch TV that would be better for her. This is the way she's old.
Yeah.
But I just feel like this stuff is antiquated. I don't know.
It is a little bit. All right, Paul. Let's wrap it up. We're gonna do a bonus show for a couple minutes after this. So if you're
Mhm.
watching live, stay tuned. We're gonna do what the talk following this show. If you're listening to the podcast or watching the podcast, go to patreon.com/whatthetech and fund us there and join and get access. We do like 20 minutes of bonus content each week, and it's a lot of fun. It's stuff that we normally don't talk about. Today was a little bit of a looser show, but next week I have a lot more for next week. I'm doing kind of research on something I'm gonna bring up next
Mhm.
week.
Okay.
I thought I'd be ready for it this week, but I didn't have enough time. But I want to talk about it next week. For all things Paul, go to Tharot.com. For all things me, go to my Twitter at Andrew Zarian. Follow me on Twitter. You can follow Paul also at Tharot.com, at Tharot on Twitter, and we'll see you all next time. Take care. Bye bye. All right. Let me do this. There we go.
Oh boy.
I am. Oh, why did I lose this? So they say now that the iPhone, the next generation iPhone, won't have a redesign. The next version, the iPhone
I
12.
swear to God, every other rumor is like they're getting rid of the notch. It's like, nope, we're gonna be with the notch for like 5 more years. Like they keep going back and forth on that. I don't know.
I don't know what else is there left for them. What else can they do? They've done it all. Like what's left that you don't have on an iPhone that you want?
What's like from a design perspective?
Yeah. Get rid of the notch, obviously.
Get rid of the notch and get rid of the bezels. I mean,
Get
would
rid
be
of the
the big thing.
bezels.
I mean, they
it's
talk a
very
lot about how
thin.
it's like all screen, but actually the bezels are pretty big on this thing.
Let's see. It is big, but you know what's funny? So if you put on a
Like a
like a
case that
soft
hides it.
case,
Yeah.
it minimizes the bezel. You don't notice it as much because the case is there.
Okay, I'm just saying it's there. So it is there.
Yeah, interesting. All right, we'll begin in 3, a 2, and a 1. Hey everybody, welcome to What the Talk. This is our bonus show. We record this live each and every week exclusively on patreon.com/whatthetech. I'm Andrew Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by one of my favorite people in the world, Mr. Paul Tharot.
I appreciate you pausing
are.
before you
You
were like,
are.
I am joined by, how do I introduce this idiot?
One of my favorite people in the world. So I may be making a big mistake
Mhm.
by bringing back a show. And
Okay.
I actually want to get your opinion on this. So I don't know if
Okay.
you remember, but I did a show called The Free for All.
Okay.
So I used to do it on Friday nights from 8 to 10. And
All right.
when I first started, I used to do the Andrew Zarian show. That was my big thing. And then it kind of turned into The Free for All, where it would be me, Spencer,
So,
and yeah.
well, so I have a memory early on with you where you did a show, and I don't know which one it is, where you were in a room
Mm-hmm.
and your wife was in it sometimes, or maybe all the
Yes.
times. It was like a couch,
Yeah.
and you were on like one side and some other people on the other side. What
Yeah.
was that show?
That was the Andrew Zarian show.
Okay. And where
Yeah.
was that recorded? I know
In
in
the
your
same
house.
room, in the same studio.
Oh, it was in the room you're in now.
So it was, but it was
But it was
It
different.
was flipped. Yeah, the whole
Yep.
studio was shifted.
Okay.
Um, so
But am
that
I
was
remembering this right? It
yeah,
was
yeah,
so it's
that
kinda
was
like
a
a
big
talk
show.
show almost.
It was like a Howard Stern show.
Yeah, okay.
So the free for all was that, but way looser. No structure to the show. It was
Mhm.
almost like this, where we would
Okay,
just like
yep.
we would all come with like a topic, and then we would just shoot the shit, and then we took phone calls. So it
Okay.
was like a guys call-in show.
Okay.
The concept
And
is
sorry,
very
I interrupted you,
dated.
but you said Spencer and who else?
Spencer and Coco.
Coco. And who
Yeah.
was Coco?
Coco was my co-host on that. He's my kid's godfather now, but at the time he was my co-host on the show. Big
What's his
guy,
real name? Do I
Joey.
know?
I don't know if you've ever met him.
I
He's
don't
a
think I
big guy. You probably 100% you've seen him. 100% on the
Okay.
show.
Okay.
So he was the one that we would always like bust balls. Like we would
Mhm.
always rag on him. Spencer would handle like the phone calls and stuff, and then I would just lead the show. It became
Okay.
it became like it got this cult following,
Mhm.
and I get every week somebody asked me like, oh, I wish you brought the free for all back. I wish you brought the free for all back. So now last
Right.
night I announced that I'm bringing it back.
Wow.
I
Okay.
don't know by 2020 standards how this is
Right.
going to go for me because
How long ago did you do this show?
I stopped doing it in 2014.
And, my concern when I hear this is you're gonna give up your Friday nights?
This is just like a reunion show and see what happens.
Oh, I see.
So my Friday nights, I really don't go out on Fridays. It's rare for me. I go out during a week a lot. Like a Wednesday night is a night out for
Okay.
me.
Yeah,
So
so you kind of the opposite of where I'm at.
yeah, like I like going out during a week. So my wife will meet me for a couple drinks if I'm coming back from work. I hate to be home, get the kids in bed, and then go out. It kind of it's too stressful. Things don't line up.
Hmm.
So if we're able to kind of get a babysitter, someone watch the kids, we could, she can meet me while we're out. But I
Right.
so I was thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I want to bring it back. As soon as I posted the old logo, people were like, "Oh my god, you're bringing it back." I don't know if it could possibly be the same show. You know,
Right.
the way that and this says a lot about culture, right? The way people react to things now versus 5-6 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
very
Yeah.
differently. And I was just going back on some of the topics that we used to discuss and things that we used to say. I I cannot imagine I could be the same person on that show.
Yeah. So, but we need to think of examples of things that were brought back and were actually good, and kind of you should follow that model.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm trying to think of something that is a good example of that.
Because the show was edgy. I mean, it
Right.
wasn't as edgy as other I mean, obviously we're on the internet, but it was an edgy show.
Now you're going
We
to be
weren't
like edgy about your retirement savings,
well, you got to also think about it.
your
I'm
real
30
estate investments.
I'm going to be 36. When I started
Sure.
doing that show, I was 26.
Yeah, it's a slightly different worldview.
Very different
Few
worldview. And
children.
now
You gotta keep it quiet because they're
I had no
sleeping.
kids. I had no kids when I did the show.
Yeah, no, I know.
My view was very different, and I was a little bit more aggressive with my opinion on stuff. And now I'm like, who gives a shit?
Right,
I'm gonna
right.
attempt to do my best. Uh,
Yep.
but I got to. My wife goes, you sure you want to do that show again? I'm like, why? He goes, do you remember how much shit you used to get for things you used to say, and it wasn't even
Right,
offensive? Imagine it now.
right. Oh my
Imagine what's
god,
gonna
I
be
know,
like
I know.
now when
The
you go
over you
a
thought the
little.
PC police were out in force back then.
Very different, man. Very different.
Right.
I'm gonna attempt it and see what happens. Listen, if people enjoy it, this version of me,
Mhm.
then I'll continue doing something.
Wow.
But we'll see
So
what
when are you
happens.
doing this?
Friday night
This
from
Friday.
7
Okay.
to 9, 7 to
So this will be
9:30.
live.
This is gonna be live,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be very different than what I've done over the last 5 years with content because I went really niche with my content.
Yeah.
We're doing a tech show. I do a pro wrestling show, and then
Mhm.
we syndicate a bunch of other stuff that we produce. So I kind of, not that I'm
I mean,
bored, but I kind of want to be out of the box a little bit more.
a tech show and a pro wrestling show. I'm trying to
Very
understand what those
similar on,
things would have in common, other than they're both not sports. Sorry.
yeah.
Um,
Listen, it's sports entertainment.
I guess they're both a little bit like dance.
You know what? Same audience.
Same audience.
Shockingly,
Interesting. Okay.
same thing. Everything is seeped into everything. It's actually
Right.
amazing. But I'm giving it a shot again. We're gonna take phone calls. We're gonna do the whole thing.
Mhm.
Coco's going to be on it. See, Albert says, what about Coco? Coco's on it. It was a really bizarre
Spencer
show.
will be there.
Spencer will be live from Los Angeles.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's going to be live from LA. So
Wow.
man, I'm going to tell you, that show was, the lines were lit every night. Like 8 o'clock, we go live, and the lines were lit already.
So that's what it is. It's kind of a call-in show.
Yeah. It's like an old
Oh, that's
school
kind of
radio
interesting.
show.
Yeah,
And
yeah. That's cool.
One after another. I mean, it was wild how that show was. And then I
Right.
didn't, and I stopped it at its peak. I just couldn't do it anymore.
You know, we used to, this is like in the Mesozoic, but didn't we used to do call-in shows sometimes?
We did. We used to do call-in shows sometimes.
We should do more of that.
By the way, I got
By
this
which I
phone
mean
system.
some of that, because we haven't really done that in years.
I got this phone system. I gotta set it up finally and do it. But I would love to do more call. You know, it's so different now, and you got to look at how people use technology. Like, who calls into a radio show anymore?
Well, yeah.
Right? Like, it's not, that format is non-existent.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I could see that working. I think that's okay.
See, I think because it's so unique, people do it now because it's not, we're so separated from radio, you know, the morning drive time guys.
Yeah.
We're in a whole
but
different
that's what
era.
makes it kind of cool because if people know you're going to do this at a particular time, I mean, obviously you're going to get people who like this show and, you know, whatever, want to just interact with you. But, you know, they get some good crank calls, like some good, you know, idiotic stuff. That'll be fun.
We used to have this guy, Joe from Staten Island. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy.
No.
Okay, Joe from Staten Island was, if you listen to Howard Stern, he had whack packers.
Yeah.
He was like our whack packer. He was a cop in Staten Island that was taken off the force.
Oh boy.
Because he was too insane, and
I was going to say, was he a little too intense?
Yeah,
was that the problem?
Yeah, he was too out of his mind, and he was obsessed with hair loss. So he was very affected by the hair loss that he had, and I picked him up from the Bald Truth, and this guy would call in, and the things he used to say, I don't think it would be remotely possible to have him on the show because
he might be incarcerated now.
He may be dead, actually. It's quite possible he died, but I don't even know how we would be able to. And Albert, see, he's been listening to us for a long time. Do you think I'm talking to the chat now? Do you think we could do the show the way we did it by today's standards, where everything is offensive and there's no joking? You know,
you almost have to carry a disclaimer that you will present every 15 minutes. Like,
this show will offend you. I'm just guaranteeing you will be upset by something I said. And it's like right now on Twitter, you could write something and you think, my God, this is like a normal thought. There's nothing edgy. And someone will be like, I'm very offended by this.
Oh, people are offended by everything, Andrew. This is, you know, comedy can't exist if we're going to worry about every utterance, because everything you say, anything anyone says could be offensive to somebody, and is, you know.
I got a message from somebody, and I'll talk about it on this one. He wrote to me that he no longer could support any of my shows because he discovered what my day job is. Okay. And he's very offended by this, and he can't.
You know what the best part of it is, though?
What?
He contacted you to tell you.
He did. He was that upset.
This is the passive aggressive thing I'll never quite understand. Like, I've listened to shows or watched things or whatever where I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I'm done. But I don't feel the need to construct a letter. This is why I used to like you, but I've watched every show. But then I found out this one thing, or you said this one thing, and you can go after yourself now. Like, and it's like, oh, dude, this is more about you than it is about me. You know.
Well, this person, and I'm like, you're offended by my day job. Yeah. Like.
Well, male strippers still have kind of a stigma. Oh wait, what's your day job?
I am the VP of a hospitality group. The VP, right?
Yeah,
is that how you put it?
I'm in import-export in New Jersey.
Yeah, well, almost. I'm the VP of a hospitality group that happens to own a number of properties like steakhouses, real estate, strip clubs, nightclubs. So this guy was very upset by, I guess, the strip club part. And I'm like, dude, I work in an office.
Well, I hope he didn't watch the Super Bowl because there was a lot of pole dancing going on
Yeah.
there.
Well, maybe he was offended. But here's the thing. Here's the best part. I went to their Twitter, right? Because I knew
Hmm.
the person.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
What were
Like,
you saying?
like the things that he likes.
Oh,
I'm like, okay, this guy's like a sick person. Like, it was like, and I'm like, maybe it's a joke what he's writing to me. But no, this guy was serious. He was very upset at me.
yeah.
And then, like, you see what he likes. I like the fact that sometimes people don't know that you can see what they like on Twitter. And then you can kind of piece together
Yeah, yeah.
the level of sick they are.
Sadness.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's like, oh, that's too bad.
It's fascinating to me. I just hate one day this is all going to go away. It's
Mhm.
all going to, like, it's gone. No more Twitter. I think there's going to be, like, in 25 years, people are going to reject all of this. And we're
Okay.
going to totally become isolated in our own communities. People are going to get sick and
Yeah.
tired of having some guy in Ohio named John Prosser
Especially that guy.
telling you, you know, what
Yeah.
life should be like.
This
Especially,
is Isaac Asimov foresaw this future, you know?
it really is, right? It's
Yep.
I that's something that I find fascinating. How a lot of these guys from that era, you know, futurists, I guess you would call them,
Hmm.
they were able to see it.
I know.
It's unbelievable.
It is. It's it's unbelievable enough. You have to wonder if they weren't planted there by aliens.
I like right now I'm on Facebook and
Hmm.
it's a cesspool. I mean, the whole thing.
It's just, yep.
It
Yep.
really is. Like people are upset over the halftime show. People
Sure.
are it just it's a constant vat of
I like
negativity.
Facebook because it's my safe place where I don't have to worry about the impeachment or, oh, wait,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
that's not
yeah.
what it is.
No, see,
It's the exact opposite of that. Yeah.
I have done the incredible. I have taken out all politics from my timeline.
Wow.
I have like it's like 95% politics free. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, you know what? I don't need to follow people that I went to high school with. I don't have to be friends with them on Facebook. I don't have to
Yeah.
do it. I know that it's a big no-no to remove people that you were friends with 25 years ago, but I
Well,
started
you can,
removing
look,
everybody.
you can just hide them basically, right? I mean, without being antisocial, you can just never see them,
Well, I
you know,
told you about that viewer
which,
that lost their mind on me, right? It became like crazy. This guy,
yeah, sure.
he lost his mind because my wife tagged me in a photo with my kids.
Oh, yeah,
Did I
yeah,
tell you this one?
yeah,
So
yeah.
and so for people who don't know the story, this guy is a fan of the wrestling show that I do, and
Right.
so I don't know how he snuck in because I'm so good about just inviting people that I'm friends with, like that I know that I have some
Yeah.
sort of relationship. I kind of cut back on all the people that I added at one point when
Hmm.
I started doing the show, and this guy on the comment of my like went berserk about kids and posting photos. I don't want to see your effing kids on my timeline. Why is this here?
I know.
And the guy, so I was like, okay, dude. I'm like, you're following me. He goes, yeah, I'm following you for wrestling. I don't want to see your stupid kids. And I'm like,
This
all right,
is,
I
yeah,
deleted him. So I deleted him.
yep.
This guy lost his shit, went batshit crazy. That I
That's
deleted him,
unbelievable.
demanding, like to the point that he, like, I maybe should have gotten the cops involved, demanding that I add him back.
Right.
Like, what is wrong with people?
Everything, Andrew. Still, my favorite story with you though is still the "that's not your wife" guy.
That's not your wife. No, it was a woman. It was a
Oh, woman.
woman.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's not your
that's
wife.
not
Yeah.
your wife. That's still the best.
I believe that was the Windows 8 launch, right? We were in
That was a Windows 8 launch. Yeah.
at that when we were in the same building but on different floors
Why did she get so upset? And I'm
because
still.
you were with another woman.
I was with another. God forbid. God
You
forbid you
looked like
talk
you
to.
were on a date.
We did look like, and there was a candlelight too on the
Honestly, you
table.
guys are kind of a cute couple, you know?
We dated at one point
See?
when we were
She
16.
knows.
So there you
That
go.
woman
She
knew.
knew. She knew.
She knew what was up.
It's fine. I took it as a compliment. She was mortified though. Oh my God,
Yeah.
Daryl was
Oh, yeah.
mortified. She's
Sure.
like,
She's
"What
lucky
is
she didn't get a
happening?"
beer in the face,
Oh,
you know?
but she was so violently angry. This woman
Yeah.
that, and she was at the meeoup
House
the whole
breaker.
time. It's one of your fans, Paul. It's one of yours.
Probably. I'm sure I've long since lost that person.
That was the moment.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah.
That could have been it. Okay.
All right, so guys, I think I'm going to do the free for all this Friday. I know we're talking to a small group here on Patreon, but if you want to join us, I don't know where I'm going to stream this, like what channel, what account. I'm just trying to figure that out because I don't have a page set up for that, and I have no idea where I'm going to put the show, but I'm going to put it somewhere. Almost like a reunion show. So we'll see what happens. If there's a big turnover and people really enjoy it, maybe I'll do it again. If not, maybe that's it. We'll see what happens.
It'll be like that last Indiana Jones movie.
Who saw it? I don't know.
I don't know. Just make sure someone comes out of a refrigerator. That should be part of it.
The stuff that we used to do on the show. We pepper sprayed somebody on the show.
Oh, jeez.
Like in the studio, and we all got pepper sprayed in the face.
Right.
We did a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of crazy stuff on that show. It was fun. All right, Paul. That's it for this week. I'll see you next time. Take care. There we go. Yeah, it's going to be fun. We'll see what happens.
Oh, God. Man.
It is interesting how that kind of content has gone away. Does not exist.
There should be more of it. Just people having conversations.
Yeah.
You know?
Outside of politics.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Paul. I'll see
I
you.
mean, you would think that, you liberal scumbag.
Yeah. Oh, you northeastern liberal.
You hippie.
Elitist. That's the best insult somebody said to you. The northeastern.
Someone called me
elitist.
I was physically assaulted by a homeless person in San Francisco, and someone started out complaining about that by calling me an elitist East Coast blogger or podcaster or whatever it was.
Well, I got the same thing. I got the same exact thing when I complained about when I went to San Francisco.
I was physically assaulted. Like I'm sorry.
Where's your compassion, Paul?
Jeez.
I told the story about the homeless couple fighting over the bag of Doritos, and the one lady stabbed the guy. And this was in San Francisco because I thought downtown San Francisco was like a nice place. Downtown, how bad could it be?
It was in the 1980s.
Oh God, it was a hellhole. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I was staying at a Hyatt. I think it was like a one-night thing because I had a flight the next day, so we were going 2 days. So I just wanted to see the city. Yeah. I went inside the lobby of the Hyatt, or it was a Hilton, I can't remember, and it was just homeless people spread across the lobby, and I'm like, and I looked at the woman, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, there's homeless people everywhere. He goes, yeah, and I go, that's normal. She goes, well, they got to stay somewhere, like a total like I was crazy for being upset that there were homeless people everywhere. I got back in the rental. I said, Jess, we're getting the fuck out of here. And I went to the Ritz-Carlton.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. But you know what? We're both elitist scumbags from the Northeast. So there you go.
That's what I'm told.
There you go. You asshole. You're trying to enjoy yourself without having somebody spit on you? What do you think?
Right. I don't know.
Jesus.
I don't know.
Yep.
California.
All right.
What are you going to do?
That's it.
Can't
all right, Paul.
Can't separate it from the rest of the continent.
Maybe you can. Maybe you can.
Bye.
Bye. I'll see you guys. Take care.